Now, for more on how to plan for a crisis like this, here's Ray Rudowski, his Regional Crisis Director at Hill and Knowlton in Hong Kong. Ray, I mean, like in any crisis, communication is key. I mean, do we know enough? Have we communicated enough? Have we learned enough from SARS and bird flu to put a lid on this crisis?
Well, I think what we're seeing in the last 2 weeks, and especially in the last couple of days, is not are we communicating enough? It's are we communicating too much? There's just so much information out there that I think it's important for clients and corporates to look at what's being done and filter it and really monitor what's important for their particular businesses so that they can align their communications with their response strategies. That's the real challenge right now. And I think that rather than looking at the gloom and doom of this, we know how bad it can get. I think companies really need to look at the opportunities presented here. And some of those opportunities include getting closer to their employees, getting closer to their stakeholders, getting closer to governments and regulators, and working together to try to find a way to make sure that it doesn't get as bad as it was with SARS 6 years ago.
Are you then saying we are approaching this swine flu crisis in the right way? Have we taken the right measures?
I think that what we're seeing right now is that, again, there's been a flood of information. But the issue is really right now, the epicenter of it is the United States. So that gives companies here in Asia an opportunity to be on the front foot and plan for it. In fact, in the last couple of days, I've been going through some of our own clients and the crisis plans that we developed over the last couple of years, reviewing them, sending them back out with either a note saying, remember, we planned for pandemics, or perhaps you might want to consider implementing or creating a scenario or situation in response to a possible escalation of this.
Ray, a question from Silas here.
Yeah, hi. How do you think is the preparation like in the northern hemisphere to this flu? I mean, particularly in the States. Are you comfortable with the measures that the U.S. has taken so far?
Again, I think that we've seen this right from the very top. The president himself and the administration has been on the front foot. They're communicating immediately. I think they're trying to do the right things and align their communications with that. We've seen the classic crisis response of concern, action, and perspective. And the president, I think, in his level-headed response has been leading this, and that, I think, has granted some reassurance, especially around the world, that there's still time to catch up and make sure that this thing doesn't spin out of control the way that SARS did. It's a very clear contrast to the way that the slow and often secretive response that we saw with SARS 6 years ago. So clearly the messages have been, the lessons have been learned, and I think that's a very positive thing for the world in general.
The lessons have been learned, but the risks are there. That's the reason why the markets have reacted negatively. We're seeing commodities slump overnight. We're seeing commodities slump here in Asia as well. I mean, surely people are concerned about the risks involved despite the lessons learned.
Absolutely, and what we're seeing is not unusual. I mean, the biggest landmark study looking at how markets react to crises was done about 12 years ago. It was the Knight and Pretty study, which you can reference and look up. But it looked at the fact that companies, the share price of companies naturally goes down within the first few days of any type of crisis. The response from investors will be to look at how they respond, how the authorities respond to this, and often if the response and the transparency is there, markets will bounce back not only to where they were before the dip or the crisis began, but they may even actually increase in value. And so that's what we're seeing, I think, should be put into a wider context, that this is part of the process. Recovery is really about how well the companies in crises respond. And I think, again, this is a tremendous opportunity for corporates in Asia to ramp up their own communications and begin looking at where are the risks within their own organizations, prioritizing stakeholders, and then developing responses that are aligned with their businesses. That can range from anything, if you're a logistics company, to look at, you know, who do I need to be talking to, suppliers, customers, to if you're an airline, looking at passengers, governments, regulators, making sure that you have the right information and that you're seen to be on the forefront or on the front foot of this. And that's what we've seen to the question of what the president and the response in the United States has been. And I think that's encouraging. We still don't know how this is going to play out, but what we're seeing, I think, is a pattern which, if played out properly, will see a recovery fairly quickly.